Larry, WandaVision. Marvel has seemingly set up 2021 to be the year that they come back with a vengeance. They basically took off 2020, and there's a lot of buzz with Marvel with everything we just announced in the beginning of this video. So tell us, Larry, from A to B, give us the skinny on WandaVision.
Well, I will say this: if there's going to be a lot of hardcore Marvel fanboy types that are going to be sorely disappointed and hate it. And there's also going to be a lot of people out there that just really, really love it. So I don't think there's going to be much middle ground on this one. I think it's going to be either you love it or you hate it. I think it's going to be one or the other.
Okay, well, Larry, you're not giving us a whole lot, man. Well, okay, well, what is it that we're gonna hate? What is it that we're gonna love? Give us some details, my brother. Do I have to be Leslie Stahl, Anderson Cooper, all rolled up into one? Give us the details, my brother.
So it's a definitely a very fun show. It's a comedy. It's very silly. It's sort of got that sort of that old school slapstick sort of element to it. It's very much set up and shot like it is like it's a 1960s or 70s sitcom, you know, sort of like a one-room sitcom, really like a two-room, because you have like the living room and then the kitchen. They do go outside a little bit in some different scenes, but it's very much like a traditional sitcom with laugh tracks and the way they shoot it, the cheesy one-liners, the whole thing, you know, the goofy neighbor that comes over, barges in, and all the little antics and jokes. It's very, very much like a traditional like 60s, 70s sitcom, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's funny. Both of them, both Wanda and Vision, are really, really funny. We get to see where it's set up where Wanda is a housewife. Vision is going to work. He works at some company that he has no idea what they do, what they make, what they produce, what their purpose is at all. And he's asking, what do we do? What do we produce? No one seems to know. And then he ends up getting a promotion. So, but they are sort of like fumbling through some of the comedies, them fumbling through trying to be human and be normal, everyday people. So, you know, so you have them trying to figure out how to pretend like they're a husband and wife, where they never even got their stories together about when they got married and where they got married. And they're like, you know, everyone has sort of their story of how they met and fell in love. And they're trying to figure all this out because they didn't really even think, oh, someone's going to ask us this. And so, you know, just some of the small things that you would think most people know how to do, like maybe cook a dinner for a friend if they're coming over for a dinner party. They have no idea about this stuff. And so it's just, a lot of it is just really ridiculous hilarity that comes into it. It is a lot of fun, and a lot of people will think it's probably super cheesy. And that cheesy factor is what makes it a lot of fun. So
let me ask you this, Larry. What was the premise of the first episode?
The premise of the first episode really was them sort of getting set up in the new house and them moving in and meeting their neighbors, and we get to see where Vision works, and then they have him come over. That we have in the sort of episode sort of culminates with Vision's boss and his wife coming over for a dinner party. Okay. And so we get to see Wanda sort of stumbling through, trying to put together a dinner party at the last minute, and a neighbor coming over, and the neighbor's there trying to help out. And it's that's sort of it. That's sort of the premise there. It's sort of like the first episode's really sort of a setup episode to give you an idea of what the sort of look and feel of the show is going to be like. But at the same time, there is this sort of, not to spoil it, because it's not like it reveals anything so much, but there's like this voice that's saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Who's doing this to you? Wanda. And
Oh.
you get the idea that all of this that's happening in this show is sort of an illusion or a trick
Oh.
that's being played on her, as she's sort
Okay.
of lost in her own mind.
Mhm.
And there's
So
something, you know,
I was
it's
going to ask you, what's the tie-in from the cinematic universe to
yeah.
how they got to where they're at now? Because Vision is dead, technically. So basically, what you're telling me is the tie-in. And remember, fellas, remember the rumor is Wanda is going to be a big character in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie. And if you're hearing a voice, she could be, you know, like you said, there could be some menagerie going on with her psyche, and that's going to tie into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So
Yeah.
that's maybe the voice that you're hearing is the tie-in, and by the time we get to the movie or the end of this series, we'll figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I think it seems like it's going to be. So, and they don't necessarily seem like they're trying to hide that element of it at all. So I think that the surprise is probably going to be more so of who's doing it to her and where she is, more so than it's actually happening. We kind of, they're kind of letting us know right up front that this is happening to her and this is sort of a dream. But I think it's the other parts of it about where she is, who's doing this, and why, and all that stuff is going to be where the sort of surprise element of this whole sort of dreamscape that she's in is going to come into play.
Okay, man. I look, as a fan, T Streams, I love being able to ask these probing questions of Larry, the thespian expert. He knows about these things. I love so Larry, for people that want to know about their powers, did they display any of their powers in the first episode?
They did. They're using their powers. They're using their powers throughout the entire 2 episodes that I've seen. They're using their powers, but not in the traditional way that you would think. They're using them for much more practical reasons.
Okay.
And so like there's one scene in the first episode where the boss who comes over for work starts choking at dinner. And he's choking and choking and choking, and his wife is up there just sort of smiling and laughing, saying, "Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it." And she was talking to her husband, telling him to stop it because she thought, I guess maybe at first he was joking or something. And she's just saying, "Stop it, stop it." And she's sort of stuck in this loop. And that's when you kind of realize something's wrong, because she's got this just blank smile on her face. She's stuck there just saying, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." And finally, in that moment, Wanda sort of breaks character and tells Vision, says, "Vision, save him, do something." And so then we see in that moment where the boss is laying on the floor choking to death, Vision goes over to him, reaches in through his throat and pulls out the piece of food and saves his life. And so,
like, stuck his hand in his mouth. Like,
no, he stuck his hand through his throat, because
he can
Vision
go translucent.
through stuff.
Yeah.
So he just stuck his hand through his throat, grabbed the piece of food, and pulled it out.
Okay, so wait a minute, Larry. Now I'm gonna have to nitpick the way Larry does, y'all. I'm sorry, I got nitpick. So you mean to tell me Vision went in there, didn't break no bones? He went translucent. Okay, I can get that. But on the way out, in order to grab that piece, he's gonna have to go back into 3D. You can't be in there translucent and get the piece out. So he didn't tear up nothing getting the piece out, Larry. Marvel, what the hell are you doing? That's not realistic. Stop it. And I am a pure fanboy. Marvel hats and all kinds of shit back here. That's not real, but I'm just giving you a hard time. So Larry, overall, so we can get on, how would you rate this first episode of WandaVision? 10 being the best, 0 being pure trash.
I'm gonna give it a solid 8, because I really like I like Wanda. I like Vision. I really like Wanda. I mean, period. She was always one of the characters I really liked in the Marvel universe. And I always felt like they never really truly showed how powerful she is like they do in the comics. And I'm assuming
wait. I gotta stop you. Now, we didn't get to this part the other day, but I had clips of me saying and showing you guys how overpowered she was in the MCU. Literally, this chick could have beat Thanos by herself. In the very end, she lifted Thanos up, stripped him of his armor, and I thought she was going to pop his head till he said rain fire. That was a display of her power.
Right.
Then in the very first one, Larry, if you can recall, she was in between Thanos and Vision. She literally was keeping Thanos kind of at bay, and he had all the other stones.
Right. So she's crazy powerful.
She's crazy. She's crazy powerful.
So so yeah, I mean, for me, when I say 8, it's because maybe it's because of some of the nostalgia that I feel for some of the shows. Like I loved some of those old sitcoms like Bewitched. I think 703 mentioned in the comments, but I loved like Bewitched. I loved I Dream of Jeannie. You know, some of those shows like that, like Wait Till My Father Gets Home, and some of those shows like that were always hilarious, and it's very much in that same vein, like the Jeffersons, even where you have them, you have like a one where everything happens mostly in one room, and you have the neighbors coming over, and the neighbors are silly, and it's just a lot of fun. That's basically what it is. It's sort of like in the midst of all this crap that's going on in the world, it's sort of like this is a little bucket of fun.
Okay.
And it's sort of like Disney and Marvel just said, you know what, here, and just dumped a bucket of fun on your head. It's completely ridiculous and silly. And you can start to see there's little elements of it that are going to kick in to be a little bit more serious. You can see where you start to see little bits of like a villain showing up here and there. You start to see some of the changes that are happening that are going to lead into maybe a more darker part of the series. But the first 2 episodes of it are very much sort of silly, fun, goofy, and a good time. And yeah, I like it for that reason.